Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, St. Martin, and welcome to another installment of the Progress Podcast. And today you have
Luciano Nicholas
and
Nelly Blaze.
of course, truly self Marvio Cooks. And today we're going to be talking about education, AI, and a lot of other things. So stay tuned. So Nelly, how do you like your coffee, man?
I like my coffee with almond milk. Well, any vegetable milk product, and with sugar, and that's it.
Type of
Simple.
sugar.
Yeah.
What type of sugar?
What type of sugar? Oh, cane sugar, brown sugar.
Cane
Yes.
brown sugar. Lucha.
Well, just as just like what Landy said, I prefer my coffee that can tickle my pancreas a bit. It must be sweet, and then some milk or cream or something like that. Yeah,
I like my coffee black, no sugar.
it's unfortunate.
And my favorite type of coffee is the Santo coffee. Yeah, so as today you might have noticed, no Melissa.
Nope.
The guys have took over. We are here and we are definitely getting ready to talk about some education. So Nelly, we have FBE.
Yes.
Recently you had your workshop with educators
Mhm.
and you had some feedback on what can help to improve education, and FBE was mentioned. Give us a little bit more of what you learned there. What was that?
Yes, thank you. So yesterday we had our workshop with the educators and some members of the community, and we were discussing the FBE system. And it was quite interesting to hear the educators speak passionately about the FBE system. There
Okay.
are some challenging
Mhm.
aspects of the FBE program. What I think needs to happen is a reassessment of how the FBE system is structured right now and how it is servicing our students
Correct.
currently. And I think there is a gap that we need to research.
Mhm.
And I think if we do not take the time to research and find solutions to why there is a gap with the FBE program that we have and with our students, I think we'll see a collapse within our education system in the primary aspect of it.
I honestly think that we are starting to see that collapse already. We've had years dealing with FBE, and I guess the way it's implemented right now, it hasn't been working for us. A lot of people can see that, and so if we don't attack this in a timely manner, we're going to be in a lot of problems.
And for those of you, I noticed we continue talking about FBE without saying what it is. Foundation-based education.
Right.
And it is a system that is used primarily in the education system of St. Martin, and it has been around for how long now?
I think it started in the early 2000s, if I'm not
Early 2000s.
mistaken.
So what we're saying is that we need to take a reassessment
Mhm.
of what it's done so far, where are the pitfalls, and how can it be improved. So far, it seems like it's been a wet finger to the wind
Yeah,
kind of situation.
that's about it.
And we got to take the guesswork out of education and
Pull it back and reassess.
Yeah,
You know, the thing about it as well, with the research, and Lucho, thank you for providing that that research. I think foundation-based education is good. However, currently we are moving towards a modernized world, and where does FBE falls into that modernized world, and how is it equitable for all of our students right now? Research needs to play a in assessing that FBE program.
and you said something there, equitable.
Yeah.
And that is something that should be more trending. It should be trending more in our education system, because equitable means that it reaches the students where they need it based on their needs.
Mhm.
And that is,
Doesn't matter how much you make,
and I think that was the primary intention
That
of
was- yeah.
FBE. It was,
it was supposed to be a more equitable system than what we had before, but to really realize that equity, we also needed to put some extra stuff into it.
yeah, like resources. And that's
Precisely.
one of the main
Precisely.
the main
That's the main-
issues there. Of course, funding is everything. And planning is even more. So you have to plan to have the sustainable funding to provide the resources that the teachers are going to need to continue to the
Precisely.
spirit of what the program is supposed to do.
Right now, they can't do what they should do
Yeah.
to make it a successful program.
Yeah, and we don't want to keep having frustrated educators, because frustrated educators also frustrated children, and a decline in the way and morale of our education
Correct.
system.
Correct.
So basically what our Party for Progress, believes is that we definitely need to take a mini pause, take a look at the FBE program, really assess how it's been, what is it doing in the different schools, because every school campus has its own.
They're able to implement it the way they see fit.
They see fit, and then come up with more equitable and more considerable policies that actually help bring the resources to the schools, so that the teachers also can stop
Right.
having to dive into their own pockets to supply their classrooms,
Mhm.
and maybe even incentivize, the way that education is done for the educators, so that there's more incentive to continue to personally develop, because the classroom as well as the workplace is changing, and
Yeah.
we know.
Changing at a rapid pace.
Yes, and we know that technology in the classroom has been the trend and has been the theme for many, many years.
Mhm.
And St. Martin has been playing catch up for the most part when it comes to it. I got to give props to everyone out there as educators that have been doing their best to incorporate technological strategies to the lesson plan. To being able to even find ways to use technology in gym class. That's something that I saw a couple of years back, and I found it very interesting. And we have to prepare ourselves for technology in the classroom as a facilitator. I know there's a lot of people that are afraid of technology in the classroom. They're afraid of maybe even leaving students bring their own devices to the classroom.
I have heard those sentiments already, and my students can tell you that I've always welcomed devices into the classroom. Once you're staying on what I put in front of you, as you're staying on that lesson, I want you to be able to use your devices in class, connect to the internet. If I ask you a question, you can research that on the internet, because I also want you to learn how to research. And that's a different. It's different from how we were taught. We were taught, this is your book. This is information in your book. Go in your book, go and look for it. But there's so much more information than just the book on the World Wide Web that we can use in the classroom.
Yeah.
And so I always encourage my students to bring their devices to school. Problem is a lot of
Devices.
So that, what is it? BYOD, bring your own device.
Correct.
For me, I think we have to think more critically. Right now, we have the board in front of the classroom, and you have your notebooks. But I think currently, right now, when we're talking about a modernized world, students really learn from smart boards, tablets, and we really have to think about the future jobs.
Yeah.
We're
going to touch on them. We're going to touch on
social
them.
media.
Yep.
So it's very important that we start to integrate technology into our current schools.
Correct.
Because technology has a big impact in our
On a
future
global scale.
on a global scale.
impact,
So I think we need to start changing. Of course, change is difficult, and teachers, educators, they have a bit of
Difficulty.
skepticism.
It's a learning curve. There's a learning curve as well.
However, we have to prepare for the future.
Yeah. I think one of the first things is to make sure that you involve your stakeholders, which are the educators. It's a good idea to have the educators be involved in the acquisition and the research of what technology you can bring into the classroom. Lucho mentioned being able to have some sort of control over the screens of the students in the classroom. That is software that's already available.
Yes.
These are things that have been around for almost a decade. And one of the things that Nelly mentioned was future jobs. And for us, they're future jobs. That's the thing, is that for most of the world, these jobs already exist.
Right now.
Right now. It's us that has to play catch up. But I find that one of the benefits of technology is the access to information almost in an instant. We no longer have to wait for mail to reach physically.
I remember this.
For us to learn that there's something new, we no longer have to wait for that to reach us. We have it at our fingertips. So, but one of the things I did want to touch on, because we kind of skip over that when it comes to technology in the classroom, is the importance of what supports that technology.
Oh yeah,
The infrastructure.
the infrastructure behind it, right?
Both electrical and network. And
Oh,
that's one of the things that's very frustrating.
Marvin, no, this really.
I know.
Calm
Calm down. Would you like some coffee?
Oh, I'm fine.
All right. Well, yes. So the network infrastructure is one of the main issues. It's nice to have a whole bunch of devices in the classroom, but if your school's infrastructure can't support the devices, or if even maybe you have a good network infrastructure, your networking and your system is set up properly, you have the proper routers, you have the proper network boxes, good. But the bandwidth you have coming to the school,
it can only go as far as what you have coming in.
as what you have coming in.
That's
So, we have to be very mindful of this and actually take a phased approach to the upgrade of technology in the classroom. We have to start from the bottom, from the foundation. If your foundation isn't good, the house isn't going to be good. So we got to
Foundation-based.
Yeah. Look at that. Foundation-based.
Foundation-based.
This foundation-based networking. Let's see. Let's
FBN.
So, we have to make sure that we take an approach and see exactly where we can find funding to actually do, okay, let's take a summer, take a school or two, upgrade the network, upgrade the electricity. We don't want to have a school where if you turn on the microwave and the toaster at the same time, it knocks off the electricity because, it can't handle it.
Those things happen today,
Having technology in the classroom means that we have to have the right temperature in the classroom. We have to have, we have to make sure. Of course, we want to have the right temperature in the classroom for the children.
Yeah.
But when we're adding technology like smart boards and other things, we have to
You
make
don't
sure
want
that
them in a hot box,
they have-
struggling for life.
Exactly, because they were expensive too. The longevity of it depends on how you treat it after, post purchase. So, what do you guys think about how we can take care of schools when it comes to getting infrastructure up in connection to the technology, and how can we maybe make partnerships to help schools make that more sustainable?
What I have noticed, especially I teach at Nicodemus now, and what you're saying about having the correct temperature in schools, they have a program now where they're trying to put ACs in every single classroom. It's taking a while, of course, because it's an expensive endeavor, but slowly but surely they're getting that job done. So that's one aspect that we're looking at. Let's I don't want to take a look at our current electrical grid or point any fingers right now. maybe a little bit further down.
It's open space.
You're safe here.
But I think we've Milton Peters had a program where they were repairing the school and all that kind of stuff, and so they did start to make their the electrical system a bit more robust, so that they can handle moving on into the future. And so I think schools will have to look into that as well.
Yeah, definitely. I know one thing, in the public schools, it's something that's being looked at. It's something that educators have been complaining about, even parents. They talk about their kids sitting in the classroom sweating. I do give a
I'm
nod.
not a sweaty teacher.
I do give a nod to the teachers. I do give a nod to the teachers that do get creative and take the children outside and make the classroom interesting and keep the kids interested by bringing them onto the outside and transitioning what education can be. And that's something that I think we also have to use when it comes to technology. We have to be able to connect the subjects, and that's something that technology can do. And if we can, and then one example of that, people say, how can you do that?
Right.
One example of that is connecting science, biology to gym class.
Right.
And I've seen this where they use a certain type of Fitbits that look like Fitbits, and they're connected to some software, and on the children's iPads, even a teacher projected it onto a screen, so that once the kids were taking laps around the gym, it kept track of each student's heart rate and blood pressure and so on, so they can see how much calories they were burning and so on. And it also, the teacher was able to show, hey, just because so-and-so isn't running as fast as the other one, it doesn't mean
almost the same amount of work.
Exactly. And they were able to tie heart rate and so on to what they were learning in biology class. So, there are ways to connect it. We just have to make sure that we take the time to build it properly. We can't go putting on the windows and the foundation isn't finished. So, yeah.
I think what you just touched upon, to piggyback on that, I think it's important for students, educators to take ownership of the entire education process. Whenever you have new technological advancements within your curriculum or within your school, it's up to you to take care of that. I think having that state of mind of this is mine, I
Mhm.
want to take care of it, and I want to make sure that it lasts a very long time for future generations. I think you would start to see a different trajectory in where we're going as a nation with education. And to follow up on what Marvy was saying with taking the students out of the classroom setting, you have to think about informal education as well. There's formal education where you learn and you sit down and you're listening to your educator that's in front of you, but there's informal education where there's 3 points where the students are speaking, the professor is speaking as well, but then there's a third element where it's co-creation and everyone is participating. So taking your students outside and they're with their tablets and they're taking pictures, or even with robotics and they're seeing how a vehicle goes over the terrain, how can you assess that, take that data and improve it within the classroom. So you have both aspects. So you have outside the classroom and you have inside the classroom, and you can see how technology integrates all of those aspects.
Bring them together.
And I think one of the things is to make sure that we remember that technology isn't there to replace us. It's there to facilitate
Enhance.
and enhance what we're doing.
All they
And
can do is help.
I think that's one of the main campaigns that we have to actually push out for our educators, especially for those that are more hesitant to
Yeah.
incorporating it into their curriculum or into their way of teaching. Because there's always that idea of oh, this might replace me. But we also have to be sure that we can keep up and have the time to keep up. And one of those things that can help with that is proper training.
Yeah.
And incentivizing why you should stay up with the times and why
And
it's important.
don't be afraid of that training. Don't be afraid to learn something new.
Yeah.
You're never too old to learn something new.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I learn something new every day.
Every day.
And so there's a lot of like a negative connotation around certain teachers when they think about like somebody going to assess me, somebody.
Yes. Yeah.
And we don't look at it like that.
No.
It can only serve to enhance the product that you present for your kids.
The way I like to think about it is we assess students all of the time.
Every
We assess students all of the time, but we don't assess them and say, "Oh, you ain't good. Get out of the school."
Precisely.
We assess them and
then we find ways
improve
to
them,
make them good.
to improve them.
We find
So
ways to make them better.
we have to start looking at assessments as, especially when it comes to personal development and skill-based assessments to get your skill up. We should welcome those, especially the ones that are more flexible and allow you to work on your own pace.
Mhm.
And especially those that are, if you're getting it for free and it's legit.
I mean, come on.
Like,
Free education.
come
Here
on,
St.
now.
Martin.
Come on,
Come
now.
and beat.
That's next to free food for me. So I think one of the things to round out the technology in the classroom is that we have to be more accepting of it. The world is going in that direction. There is no stopping it. Actually, we are there already. We're just playing catch up.
Mhm.
Our students are already there. And I have to say
They've been
that
there since birth.
from some birth,
They've been
and
born into this.
we have to be more accepting of the fact that this is the world they live in.
Yes.
When they go home, they're not in a book. Their book is on a tablet.
Mhm.
And yes, there are, some connotations where you have to find a proper time management for it. And we'll touch on that in a bit. But as adults, we have to embrace the world that they are in and find ways to guide them. Because if we don't do that, we can't just keep holding them back and hoping to put them in a time when we live. Those times are gone.
Yes.
Those
Oh, yeah.
times are gone.
Oh, yeah.
So
Different times.
let the technology facilitate learning, upgrade the network and electrical infrastructure in the schools to make sure that there is enough to supply what it is that you're trying to support in the schools.
And don't be afraid of those assessments. Don't be afraid to learn.
And let's make those tripartite type of connections with the public sector and the private sector to even lower costs for internet, improve infrastructure, sustainability for funding, and that would help, take care, provide ownership of the education in the area. So there's one part that you touched on. You touched on robotics.
Yes.
And when you talk robotics,
Going in deep, guys.
you touch on robotics. It is something that some people fear. and it
Something
is
that's been exploding.
exploding left and right.
Right.
You know, everybody chatting about it. Some people use it to write. Other people use it to make art. And
That's true. Yeah, I've seen that.
and some
Music,
even use it for
art,
music.
yeah.
Music, yes.
Yeah, and you know, it's becoming a vital part of STEAM.
Yeah.
Which is science, technology, engineering, arts,
arts,
and maths.
mathematics.
And we are talking about AI, artificial intelligence. And artificial intelligence, simply put, is the intelligence of machines or software, as opposed to the intelligence of humans and animals. So that's simply put what AI is. And many people, especially educators, are afraid of it in a sense. They're very wary of it. They're very concerned on the implications that it can have on education. But I, on the other hand, and I believe that you guys share the
Oh,
same
yeah.
sentiment, that AI, much like technology in itself, is a facilitator. It's
Of
a tool.
course.
Yeah.
Of course.
So rightfully so, I think educators should be skeptical about AI because of the impact that it has, especially on education whenever you're studying or if you're writing a report.
Oh, that's
You know,
Yes,
ticklish
you
here.
know,
Yes.
you might be considered academically dishonest
Yes.
because it's not your work.
Yes.
But quite interesting, I was watching a video on artificial intelligence in the classroom in China. And the way on how they utilize artificial intelligence in China is that they use the data from the minds of the students while they're in the classroom to see how engaged they are in the program. And with that data, they have sort of a dashboard where they can print or send this information to students and to parents.
Yeah.
I mean,
Wow.
to parents,
Yeah.
not to the students,
Parents.
Wow.
to the parents, and the parents
That's
can
obvious.
analyze and see how their students are doing in the classroom.
Yeah.
So if you're using artificial intelligence in order for you to compile data and share it with stakeholders such as parents, I think that's very important. But if you're using artificial intelligence to copy and to use it to do academic dishonesty, then I think, you know, that is a disadvantage to AI. But the advantage to AI is to actually enhance, you know, education in the classroom and outside of the classroom as well.
Yeah, you know, my dad once told me technology is just like a hammer. You can use it to build something, or you can use it to destroy something and knock it down. So it's really about being able to take the tool that has been developed and find ways to apply it to assist and help grow. You know, you mentioned that there are fallbacks, and of course there should be concerns, especially in these times where our children and everyone else really is. I mean, you guys are watching us right now on the screen, so you know, there's times where we're stuck to our screens, and the idea of using AI, especially in the classroom and in industry, is that we're taking away that human aspect. You know, that is one of the pitfalls especially when it comes to education in the classroom. The benefit is that, of course, there's personalization.
Customization.
The customization that you mentioned about education. We can use that to figure out where the students are weak and help them improve in those specific areas. Also meaning that you have 24/7 access to this knowledge repository, where students don't have to wait for the teacher to wake up in the morning.
And, sometimes as teachers, you have to also be able to assess yourself, right? And you have to really look deep within you and say, hey, am I the best that this child can have right now? You know, sometimes you really have to look deep within yourself. And so I told my students, because truth be told, the subject that I teach is a difficult one.
Yeah.
And maybe the way I'm explaining it may not be getting to them.
Yeah.
Right? So I was like, who in this class has sort of ChatGPT? They were like, everybody. So I'm already thinking, I wonder what you are using it for.
Yeah.
But I was like, anyhow, a lot of the problems, you can just type in the whole problem into ChatGPT, and it could come up with a beautiful solution for you that may be better for you to understand than what I am saying or what I am putting on the board.
ChatGPT,
you can go through it at your own pace as well. So I know
what ChatGPT is. I'm pretty sure there's some people out there that have no idea.
I think they call it a large language model, right?
Yes.
And so it has a whole bank of information, and it takes that information, and I don't know the wizardry behind
Yeah.
it, but
But basically, you go on the website and you have access to it. You put in your query, your question,
right, like that.
whatever
Okay.
you want, and it can
It can
spit
spit out
out.
some interesting information. for
Yeah.
you, you
And
know?
that's why there's plagiarism
Yes.
involved in it.
Right.
Yeah.
For students.
Precisely.
That's
That's
the
the dark side of it.
Mhm.
But if you're using it as a study tool,
Mhm.
okay?
Yeah.
Because especially in mathematics and physics, there are certain steps that you just have to follow. If you can use this as a tool when you're home, and I am not there to explain you this precise problem. I mean, when it comes to those subjects, repetition is key.
Yeah.
You know, you need to keep on doing it over and over. And so if you're able to use AI in that sense, that can help you bridge that gap between me and you, then go for it.
Yeah, and locally, because I think one of the things is that we tend to think that we're in a small country in the Caribbean, and that these things are far-fetched ideas or things that are
Mhm.
way in the future, and they're really not. We can really be using the benefits of AI right now.
Once you have an internet
What
connection, right?
we are already connected,
Yeah.
and we can't keep playing. Oh, we'll get there when we get there. Usually by the time that happens, we're late. I think what we have to start looking at locally when it comes to AI is, okay, we have issues when it comes to our education and examination and reading.
Mhm.
Okay, how can we use AI for tutoring? How
Right.
can we make sure that, okay, we can take the time that a teacher, because that's the thing, it's not that teachers don't care, it's a lot of times teachers care, they don't have the time,
You have 13,
and they
14 other students in the
to
class that you have to work
and
with.
we'll touch on how AI can help teachers with that too, because there are processes, and this is where I would like to, let people think of AI more than just, oh, let me do a book report in there. Teacher will never know. But AI has other ways of being applied when it comes to data collection, and even making sure that you can analyze patterns and do
Mhm,
processes. Rote processes, things like sending emails, things like answering questions, frequently asked questions, things like grading papers, sending back feedback based on what a specific student has done wrong in a test or in a project. There are ways to apply
You can quickly see what
AI.
the pitfalls are for that.
Exactly. And then what happens is that the teacher becomes more of a helicopter view guide that can take a look and just check in with the student,
Mhm.
as opposed to having to spend their time with them, because there's already a personalized experience. And that's one of the benefits of AI.
Yes.
So I really think that we need to start thinking about AI locally as a way to let us save time and sometimes money. And I know there's but it can replace me. Look, AI was never built to replace anyone in education, really. You're never going to be able to take out that human aspect and the importance of that human touch. Yes, the AI can answer the question of the query that they gave, but they can't give the reinforcement. Yeah, sometimes better than humans, but it might not give that reinforcement that the student might need. That that little pat on the back saying, good job, you gave it a try. You did this well. It's good to see you making an attempt. That touch, that still comes from the human aspect. This is a tool that's just there to be there when you can't be there as an educator.
And something that I think that is important when you talk about education is, whenever you're in a learning environment and you have an educator in front of you, having a big classroom is difficult to manage.
Oh,
If
you're
you-
not telling me.
We come in personally
Yeah,
from
from
an
an educator.
educator.
Yeah.
Tough. It's
When-
tough.
So whenever you have AI, like Margaret just said, you can personalize, and I like to use the word customize.
Mhm.
You make the classroom sort of smaller, because now your reach is going at such a wider span than when you're just trying your best not to use technology. And if you think about it in taking it a step further, what I also saw in that video is that they had robots in there sitting down with the student and teaching the student, okay, this is what you need to learn for the next lesson. So it's really customized to help as much as possible.
Stop.
So while so while you're dealing with, let's say, 10 students at a time, this robot is dealing with 5 students at a time. So now the resources that you actually need, let's say you need 2 educators in the classroom, maybe you can spread those resources out just a bit. So technology actually makes it more accessible for kids to learn, and it makes it more efficient, and then it becomes sustainable as well. So you have to think about the bigger picture whenever you're thinking about artificial intelligence. Like Mario said, it will never it will never eliminate that human connection.
No, no, and I mean, and I'm a big proponent of using technology as a facilitator. And one of the things that I keep saying is that if we want to really use it, we have to find ways to use it properly and where it's needed. Because
Ethically,
we
yes.
also don't want to, be too intensive and be too heavy on AI. Because of course, there's screen addiction. There's actually, mobile device addiction. There's the disconnection with communicating with humans. There's the disconnection with being able to actually learn the subject that you are supposed to be learning, because you're just using it to push out answers and you're not learning how to get there. So of course, that's why I say it's about knowing what the tool is and then knowing how to use the tool. Because we can have a saw and it can saw a piece of wood real good, but if we ain't careful, we're taking off some fingers. So we got to make sure that we can use the tool properly. And one way to do that is to not shy away from the tool that we're seeing is not just trending. It's being used in industry. It's being used in science. It's being used in classrooms. And even governments are using it to make sure that they can enhance their security and do security in layers. So we have to make sure that we too can get our educators the knowledge that they need, the resources that they need, so they can find their own ways of how to, one, fight the concerns, and two, benefit from the good features in it. So what did we learn about AI today?
Don't fear AI. Accept AI.
Accept it. I'm part of the system. Somewhere Skynet is saying yes.
They're falling into the trap.
Yeah, right. No, but seriously speaking, STEAM is very important in the classroom. We talk about science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. I'm very glad that arts was added a while back, because creativity does play a big role in the way that we solve problems.
For sure.
And I think that in these times, being able to critically think, like you said, and being able to, have a creative ways of solving problems. Today's problems need a lot of, we need a lot of that today. We have environmental issues, we have financial issues, we have social issues. We have to be able to get persons that can get together and come up with creative ways to solve these issues. And, some of these issues will take time to solve. And that's something that Party for Progress understands. And that's why, we take the time now, and from before, we take the time to look at what can be solutions. We take our time to learn about what's happening and to put together some solutions. And I think that I know that once persons go and see our manifesto, once it's out there, I think that's something.
For sure. I think they'll be pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, very, very pleasantly surprised. So, we talk about the classroom a lot. Nelly, I know you were very, very adamant about sports and the social aspects of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you wanted to mention something about it. So go ahead, man. What do you?
Yeah, I think that when you talk about sports, especially here on the island, a lot of youths feel that it's not organized. Well, now it's being organized at a level that is quite, I would say, high with basketball. I know that
someone
in the room here is
that organization
together with
there.
So I feel like there's lack of funding for our athletes. I know that we have some swimmers that are competing at high levels right now. I can't remember their names, but I think the last name is Ellis. And there's lack of resources for our athletes here to adequately train as well. And I think as a nation, we only think about, let's say our economy is based on tourism, and we're thinking about investing heavily on that in hotels or in casinos. However, you have to invest in your citizens as well. And one important component of your citizens is the youth. And if you develop your youth, you can see how far that they can take sports. You have the Olympics, you have professional teams such as in the NBA, you have FIFA. So I think just thinking about investment in infrastructure or in tourism or something like that, I think you lack empathy, and having emotional intelligence would actually aid you to realize that if you help our youth to develop in sports, investing in the resources that they need in order for them to develop themselves, you will see a better population. You would see a more youths that are excited to explore and to live here on the island. So
You know what's something that's amazing to me? I mean, I think it was Anguilla. When last have you guys been to Anguilla?
Last month.
I never met that well.
Okay, when
Yeah.
you went through the new
Yeah,
terminal,
that
what did you
is-
see?
You know what's funny about that?
What did you see?
A lot. I saw a lot. I saw the sports.
That's what I
that they had
wanted to
lined
talk
up when
about.
you came
Okay,
in.
that's Anguilla.
Yeah.
And they
Yeah,
have
I didn't
they
know.
have their sportsmen, they have the
Yeah.
sports heroes right there
Right
on
there.
the road. Okay?
Yeah.
They uplift the youth that are in sports. The same thing I believe in St. Kitts and Nevis when I passed through the airport there. Where is that same drive that
Yeah.
on St. Martin?
And you know, there's something, and I like connecting things because
Mhm.
today that's the thing. The world is very connected, and when it comes to sports and technology together, those are two things that our youth and young professionals. That's what drives a lot of the traffic that goes to watch these sports. Because a lot of people might not be able to travel, but they will pay pay-per-view to watch.
Oh,
these
you
events.
better. I mean,
And
I pay to watch
Yeah.
a few.
so the thing is to also be able to use that connection between sports and technology, and even within society, to kind of make our local athletes and our local students more, so that they become drivers. I read the innovation, where innovation comes from in the world, and we had like a study over, I think, 30-40 years. And the line in the Caribbean was literally, if this is the x-axis, it's like there.
Barely
And
hovering over.
barely hovering over. And it's not, is it that we don't have educated persons that can do this?
Oh, no.
Is it that we don't have access to the technology that we can do it? Maybe in some places, but for the most part, we can have access to that. It's that a lot of us are not inspiring our students for doing that. So when it comes to sports, if we actually develop them, if we actually give them the resources in-house to be able to become better at what they want to do, because a lot of times we wait until they win a competition and then we're like, yay, but there's work that has to go into that.
Plenty.
So we have
money,
to be able,
everything,
we have to be able to facilitate that, to nurture that. And I think that's definitely something
And
we need
we
to
also have to truly look at sports as an avenue or as a door to furthering education as well. It has always been that way, especially in the bigger countries, And so if we want to educate our youth, push them through sports to find that education later on.
Yeah.
We can do that.
Yeah. I mean, that's something that, we mentioned basketball. That was something that was very, very important to me.
Mhm.
And especially when I realized that was our national sport, and seeing it not be anywhere, it was like, okay, so once I got the opportunity to do it, it was, let's see how we can do it and how we can make it state.
Correct.
Because it's been 8 years of students asking, hey, where's something? And yeah, there's tournaments here and there, but guys, and this is something that this is what I love about this party too, is that we talk about development a lot and the importance of development. Yes, you can have an event, but if the event has no smart goals in it that drive no longevity, nothing to safeguard its sustainability and the development of the student athletes, then all you're doing is hosting a nice concert. And that's what I kept seeing. And that's what I wanted to fight against, and make sure that we have something that the students can actually develop, they can grow towards.
They can look forward to this.
They can look forward to
year
it
after year.
And then if they can use it, like you said, I might not be able to do as well academically as I can. Maybe I'm a C-level student, but hey, I can throw a javelin.
You're a world record javelin thrower.
So give me the opportunity to be able to use my level of education, even in my expertise, to build a portfolio, to be able to show myself to the world.
Correct.
To be able to, so that I can have the equitable opportunities to put myself out there. But if we leave them to their own devices, or to the devices of our lackluster economy when it comes to wages, then
but it's already happening. It's already happening. I mean,
we are reaping.
If you think about
right now,
the benefits of sports builds leaders. Sports helps you with teamwork. Sports helps you with thinking about the vision and the goal.
Correct.
And that's all things that you need in order for you to work in a functionable society. So if you're going to leave them to their own devices, you have what you have right now.
No.
Yeah.
You have disparity. You have lack of morale. You have youths that have given up on society. They want to leave St. Martin and they don't want to come back. So you have a brain drain.
Yeah.
So this causes a lot of different issues in the long run. So we have to tackle it right now, and we have to show these youths that we care about them, and making sure that they have that structure in place, just like I don't know what you call it, St. Martin Youth
Basketball Association. Correct.
We have to do that across the board with all sports, and also introducing them to new sports as well, because there's a lot of different sports that that we haven't introduced to the Caribbean region. So I think it's very important that we innovate sports as well with technology.
Yeah, and working with that, I always like giving Jack the jacket, and there are a lot of persons, and you mentioned something about caring, about giving back, and giving something for the youth to do. There are a good number of persons out there that are wholeheartedly giving to their sport. When it comes to anything from football to netball, some baseball. I see, there is the effort being put in by sometimes certain individuals. Sometimes it's a group of persons that lack the resources and the proper marketing to get out there. But it's really about caring. And I know one of the things that's difficult, and I hear about it, is finding persons who genuinely want to assist, and most importantly, can volunteer. Because I know everything. We're in a survival-based society.
That's what it is right now.
That's where we're at.
It's very true.
We're in a survival-based society. We're maybe 3 to 4 steps away from Mad Max. But we're there, and a lot of persons don't want to give their time for nothing, and I cannot understand that. But at the same time, you can't say and blame the youth for not having anything to do if the now adult aren't contributing or making an effort to contribute to their opportunity to do something with their lives. So, if you're listening to this today, I would like to implore you: find someone in your community, whether it's a sport, whether it's in the community center. If your community center is not active, find ways to activate it. Do something to actually help the community. Yeah. Do something to actually help the youth, because we can say, boy, these youth ain't doing nothing, but guess what? It ain't up to them to do something. We have to give them the opportunities. We have to facilitate the guidance systems to help them get there, and we also have to find ways to make it affordable, because we can't also we also have to the parents look, guys, the
parents working 2-3 jobs.
Yeah, we have many children out there that are latchkey kids, like you mentioned. Their parents are working 2-3 jobs. They need assistance. They're doing their best to feed the kids.
That's all they can do. That's all that they can do.
So it's a multifaceted issue. The things that we're trying to tackle. Once again, I'd like to mention that please take a look at Party for Progress's manifesto. I think the solutions you see there, I know the solutions you see there are going to make sense to you, and you can see a better country going forward. Because this is a conversation that we have all of the time. I've been hearing problems since I was 8 years old. And these are the same kind of problems we're hearing today. Only thing now, it's more modern. And we have to find ways to stop just being mouth champs about the things that we want to see in society and become more involved.
Activism, that's what it's called.
Armchair activism. I like that. I like that. We have to actually become more involved. So hats off to those that do find the time, make the time to go out there and do that. I know that sometimes the efforts look like they're in vain, but they're not. Because to these children, these student athletes, it makes the world of difference to them to see you out there giving your all so that they can be able to highlight themselves and show what they can do.
Can I mention something?
You can mention what you want.
I like what you said about having positive role models that can actually guide our youths, especially in sports. One thing that I think is very important is you always hear this notion that there's nothing to do for the kids on the island.
I've heard it time and time.
And to a certain extent, it might be true. And what I want to say is that it's up to us as role models, as mentors, as people in the community that are doing positive things. Introduce these youths to water sports. You have jet skiing, you have windsurfing, you have all kind of boat racing.
Yeah, I started sailing.
We're trying to do something.
Sailing,
We're trying to do something in motorsports as well. It's a tough sport to get into, but we're trying to make it more accessible for the youth. You see the guys up on the scooters and all kind of things.
Yeah.
Give them something that they can look forward to. Give them some
Exactly.
structure where you can teach them X, Y, and Z, how to take care of them
Yeah.
of themselves when you know.
Yeah, I remember
things
Mel and
happen.
Patrice had mentioned this in their
Mhm.
stream. They're
Mhm.
talking about the drag strip and so on. So
Right.
what, how would that actually be a solution? Because I know a lot of people say the strip won't be the solution on its own.
But you've seen that play out in other countries. You know, where in other countries where they have drag strips, you see that there's a downtick in street racing. You know, drifting. People love to see drifting. People love to see people do stunts. But if you have a controlled environment, because anytime there's an event, you have a fire truck. You know, the fire department is there.
Yeah.
The EMS is there, and so when something happens, you also have that protection there as well.
So you would think that having an area and also making it more accessible to persons that would like to use it,
Mhm.
that would minimize the amount of persons doing daredevil attempts in the road.
For sure.
Because that's mostly the argument is that, you know, these, a lot of them, so when they ain't got nothing else to do, so at least they're doing that, you know, but
how about repurposing areas that are not utilized? For instance, if we don't have the spacing for it, how about if we utilize like a big parking lot area and
That's
we
what-
create?
That's
that
what we're doing
space?
right now with APS parking lot.
Yeah.
You know, we're
Yeah.
trying to create that space for the drag racers, for the drifters that have a place where they can do their stuff. You know,
because it is a
we
legit
have,
sport.
honestly,
Mhm.
we have some of the most talented drag racers here in the Caribbean. We've gone to many different countries in the Caribbean and we've won.
Wow.
Okay, the fastest classes.
Wow.
So we have that talent right here in St. Martin right now, and we've neglected to foster it, as with all other sports. that
Yeah,
we have here.
there's
That's giving me an idea about you have the scooter riders and the dirt bike
Yeah,
riders as
right,
well.
right.
I think, you know, I don't know if it's still going on, but you have the X Games.
Right.
So if we could develop those scooter riders and dirt bike riders, you know, we have our hills. We can actually create a course
For
there
them,
for them to
yeah,
do it.
yeah,
So we can repurpose a lot of things, resources that we already
Mhm.
have. We don't have to create
And-
something new if we don't have
You know,
the
just
resources.
yeah.
If we don't have
just
the
to
resources.
try and piggyback that back into technology. There are so many different jobs opening up, emerging jobs in technology right now. When my uncle was drag racing, cars were extremely analog.
Yeah.
Okay, so carburetor, you had a screwdriver, you turn a few screws, your car was tuned. Okay. Fast forward to now, and I have to be an IT specialist for cars as well. Even my
That's true.
garbage trucks,
That's true.
they're becoming harder and harder for us to repair.
Mm.
You can't just be a diesel mechanic. You also have to have a diesel mechanic and be an IT specialist. And this is the reason why we have to push our students to go down in these areas. Okay, these technological areas. There's so many jobs just waiting for them there. And Marvin, you can tell you, you don't necessarily need a 4-year degree, do you?
No, you don't. Many of these, and that is actually the beauty of the access to information and how things work in technology. Is that a lot of times you need the practical aspect, not so much the theory. The theory will go as
You get it as you
work,
go.
you know, and you can get certified in these things. And a lot of places, such as even Microsoft,
I
provides.
think NIPA is doing
NEPA is doing some
CompTIA A
certifications.
plus right now, which is wonderful.
That's
really,
nice.
well, I was pleasantly surprised to hear that.
That's nice.
Yeah.
That's nice. And we need more things like that. You know, like I said, it's about exposure. You need to be able to expose students, expose learners to new information, things outside of their regular purview, so that they can start being inspired, start thinking about, okay, wait, maybe I can become an animator.
Precisely.
Maybe I can, and maybe I can do it without even having to leave here.
Yeah.
You know,
Technology is there for us to learn
to learn
without
and
ever
use.
having to move.
All we have to do is make sure that we have persons that are in place, persons that we trust to lead this country, to be able to set the foundation that's needed in order to build upon these things, so that these dreams don't stay dreams, so that they can become achievable. And all that it takes is effort. And that is the thing. That's why I always ask, we need to become tired, guys.
Yeah.
We need to become, we need to become tired of the things that we see. We need to become tired of saying, oh, I wish it was this way, or what if it was that way. The only way we're going to be able to do that is to make the change ourselves, to make the change needed to do that. And you know, that's a question that, you know, changed my life. Are you tired yet? And you know, that's how I ended up over here. And it's the truth. And you know, I'm asking that, you know, together we have to ask ourselves as a society,
It
Are
should
we
be a
tired
collective
yet?
question that we answer.
Are we tired of complaining about gray water in the streets and nothing happening about it? Are we tired of the smell in our neighborhood and it being categorized by that because of that? Are we tired of saying, oh, I can't go and buy grapes and eggs because my wage doesn't allow me to? Are we tired of saying I can't go to see my child play football on Saturdays because I got to work 3 jobs to make sure she can eat on Sunday? We need to stop playing games with ourselves and our future by throwing away what it is, our country, and actually take the time to be involved. And you know, a lot of times these conversations are very candid and they're supposed to be, but I get a little triggered when I see, you know, that we have issues going on and we as adults are sitting around like, hey, what are we going to do? No, we have
As
to,
I said, I'm your activist.
yeah, become active, actually be part of the society, actually come out and let your voice be heard when the day comes to actually use a pencil in a way that is going to affect the country for the next 4 years. Don't just sell yourself out. Actually look at the needs of what your children or the children of your friends are going to need later on, because these are the future leaders of our country. And if all of them want to leave and not come back, we got a problem.
Huge problem.
And that's a problem that we have today. So, you know, I love the way that you, Nelly, you go out into the community, you do these workshops. Yesterday's one was very, very interesting. I really want you to touch a little bit more on what you got there, because those teachers were talking about some stuff. And I was like, oh, hey, that's some nice stuff. So tell me.
Yeah, with the workshops that I did, you know, the first time when I came back to the island was, I think, 2019 or 2020. I can't remember. I have a bad memory. And the first workshop I did was on game theory, and basically it was to stimulate the right and the the right and the left brain.
Yeah.
How to think critically with your right and left brain. And when you think about game theory, you're thinking about games like Escape Room and how to use all of those sensory games. And I think it's important for us to introduce those types of aspects of education to our students. And that's where these workshops came to play. And I also do personal workshops pro bono to people in the community where we, you know, analyze different emotional and psychological aspects that we face here on the island. So it's a whole range of different workshops that I host. And then quite recently was the one that you take part of, which was shaping learning for the future.
And I know that for you, we always talking about, you know, the empowerment of innovating, the good of being able to become producers instead of just consumers in technology. And I mean, you're the first physics teacher actually. So that's actually
I don't know. I'm a bit sad about that. I can be honest.
Yeah, no, I love hearing your stories of physics and the fact that we have somebody teaching that on the island. How is that?
Well, let me say this. I always love science, you know, and so even though I never set out to become a teacher. It wasn't like I was like, oh, I can't wait to teach people children, you know. And my mom also, she told me, Lucho, maybe you should not look down on that career path. She's been a teacher for over 30-something years.
Wow.
Truth be told, I honestly do love teaching the subject. I love teaching physics because I feel that it is something that has always captured my mind, and I would love to have students feel the same way about the subject, you know. Why is the sky blue?
Yeah.
You know, why do we have waves? What are stars? Yeah. Those kind of questions. And I find our students, they lack that inquisitiveness now, and maybe because information is so, you know, so easy to attain. But there are some challenges that we face, that I face, and teachers who teach the same subjects face right now. And that's the fact that we're having some issues with math. You know, we're having some issues with math,
literacy, yeah.
And so you see that daily when you're trying to teach a subject as difficult as physics and mathematics. You know, we love the subject, we would love to see children excel in it, and the way it teaches problem solving, that methodical way of teaching problem solving, I just love it. that the children don't necessarily love it as much. It's frustrating for them because that foundation is
It's
there.
missing. Oh. All right.
Okay.
All right. I noticed something here, guys. Usually we get questions in the show. Check the questions, but I don't know.
Where
Someone in the chat.
in the chat? Where's the chat?
Yeah. Well, it doesn't seem like we had any questions
That
coming
means
in.
everything was clear.
That means we were
That's
clear,
amazing.
guys.
Isn't that
That means it
amazing?
was great. That means it was great. Well, all right, guys. We have 5 minutes left in today's candid conversation. We covered a lot today.
Yeah.
We covered a lot. We went everything from technology in the classroom to reassessing FBE to make sure that we can take the guesswork out of education and make education more equitable the way that it was intended to be. We talked about sports and how it can help our society grow and develop leaders and actually help inspire students and maybe even parents to do better and take ownership of their resources within their society to get active. We touched on AI and how artificial intelligence is in
Don't be afraid.
everything. Don't be afraid. Yes, no Skynet, but but it's a tool, and it's a tool that we can control and that we can help guide the next generation because it's not going anywhere. It's already here, and we're already using it in industry, science, technology, education, government. It's everywhere. It's in art. It's in music. So we have to become better curators of it and actually use it to the benefit of our country and harness it for international and local relations, because we can definitely use it for time efficiency and even financial efficiency. And of course, we talked about STEAM, the importance of science, technology, engineering, arts, and math, and how all of those together can help with critical thinking, and how we can actually introduce them in phases into schools and connect them across subject areas. And then we touched on sports and even more about how development is very important. Anything else, guys? We got a couple minutes here. I know.
So for me, I would like the population to think about whenever you're thinking about education and you're thinking about sports and positive role models, you have to always, and this is the question that I like to ask people. If you are going on an airplane and you're traveling from St. Martin to the Netherlands, and you have to select a pilot that is accredited, that has all of the competencies, will you select that pilot to get you from point A to point B, which is St. Martin to the Netherlands, or are you going to choose your cousin? Or you're going to choose the most popular person, or you're going to choose, who everyone else is choosing. So you always have to make sure that you're making the right decision.
Correct.
That's right.
So if you're going on a plane, you're not going to risk your life to reach from St. Martin to the Netherlands. So when you're thinking about positive role models, when you're thinking about leadership, when you're thinking about education, please select the right person, because you don't want to play with that as well, because that's important. It's not your life, but it's a big component of how you're going to live your life.
So we talked about people who sit back in the community and they complain about a lot of things, but they do nothing. And so I there's something I wanted to say to people like those. If you're sitting down at home and you see the problems that we face here in St. Martin and you still choose to sit back, then obviously you're also part of that problem.
Yeah,
that's number one. But I also want to speak to the people of our age group as well. Listen, what we're trying to achieve and what we're trying to accomplish is actually building a future for ourselves. And so we have to be the constructors of that future. If you do not want to be the constructor of that, you want somebody to construct that future for you, then you'll never realize the future that you want for this country. And so for those people, I'm saying, get involved. Get involved.
And I like to say that hope resides in the breath of life. And luckily, we're all here. That means we all have a chance to make sure that our voices, that our breath is heard, and that it is heard for the next 4 years. We don't have to wait any longer. We already know the problems. Persons in our age group, I hear it all the time. I don't get involved in politics, but guess what? Whether you get involved or not in politics, it affects you. You could not care about a hurricane, but when the hurricane is over the country, it's going to hit you whether you want to get involved or not. So we have a chance to prepare, and the preparation comes with you making your voice heard. So make sure that you come out and you are a participator in your own future. We have Party for Progress here. Our manifesto will be coming out soon. And we all love coffee. I like mine straight and black.
I like mine sticking in my pancreas.
And I like mine with sugar.
This was the podcast Progress. Have a nice day. And we're
We made it, guys.
made it.